valley by the wildwood, no lovelier place in the dale. No spot is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in the dale. How sweet on a clear Sabbath morning to listen to the clear ringing bell. Its tones so sweetly are calling, oh, come to the church in the vale. Oh, come, 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 come to the church in the wildwood. Oh, come to the church in the dale. No spot is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in the vale. There close by the church in the valley lies one that I love so well. She sleeps, sweetly sleeps neath the willow. Disturb not her rest in the vale. There close by the side of that loved one, neath the trees where the sweet flowers bloom, when the farewell hymn shall be chanted, I shall rest by her side in the tomb. Oh, come, 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 come to the church in the wildwood. Oh, come to the church in the dale. No spot is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in the vale.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Should you go first and I remain to walk the road alone, I'll live in memory's garden, dear, with happy days we've known. In spring I'll watch for roses red and shades of lilac blue. In early fall, with the brown leaves fall, then I'll catch a glimpse of you. Should you go first and I remain to finish with the scroll, no lengthening shadows shall creep in to make this life seem droll. We've known so much of happiness, yes, we've had our cup of joy, and memory is one gift of God that death cannot destroy. Should you go first and I remain, there's one thing I'd have you do. Walk slowly down that long road, for soon I'll follow you. I'll want to know each step you take, so that I may walk the same. For someday down that lonely road, I'll hear you call my name.
Beyond the sunset, oh glad reunion with our dear loved ones who've gone before.
I come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I stay in the garden with him, though the night all around me is falling, but he bids me go through the voice of woe, his voice to me is calling, and he walks.
Please be seated, everyone. Can you guys hear me at the back? Good? No? Can you guys hear me now? Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today to celebrate the beautiful life of Barbara Ann Coolidge. My name is Rayanne Monroe, and I am one of Ann's nieces. Whether you are here in person or how you are able to join online, we greatly appreciate you taking the time today to honor Ann. Weep not for me, though I have gone into that gentle night. Grieve if you will, but not for long, upon my soul's sweet flight. I am at peace, my soul's at rest. There is no need for tears, for with your love I was so blessed for all those many years. There is no pain, I suffer not. The fear is now all gone. Put now these things out of your thoughts. In your memory I live on. Remember not my fight with breath. Remember not the strife. Please do not dwell upon my death, but celebrate my life. At this time, I would like to ask Eugene, Lori, and Linda to please come up. Whoops. Who's going first, you guys?
Can everybody hear me? Okay. We're going to try our best to tell the story of Mom and share some memories, Hopefully we can have some laughs, shed a few tears, and honor our dearest mother, wife, sister, aunt, cousin, grandmother, great-grandmother, and friend. Our sister Marlene was headed this way on Thursday, but had to turn around because of the bad weather. Marlene, you are in our thoughts today, as well as your children who couldn't be here as well. Mom's request was to be put to rest in the summer, so we weren't cold outside, she wrote down. So when it comes to that time of year, we will be together then. Barbara Ann was born May 23rd, 1941, to Audrey and Harry Hardy. Grandma Audrey always spoke of Mom being a kind and caring little girl full of spunk. She became a big sister to Brian on her second birthday. Together, they had very many adventures, playing in the great outdoors, building snow forts, swimming in dugouts. They rode to school on horseback, and Mom always said that the ride home after school was fast, as the horse galloped all the way home, and you had better hang on, because if you fell off, you had to walk the rest of the way. Mom became a big sister to Alice when she was 10 years old. She said she loved having her own little dolly, and remembers her mom, as in Grandma Audrey, being frantic as she watched Mom ride her bike with baby Alice in the basket. A couple of years later, Bruce was born, and the Hardy family was complete. We have heard many stories when Mom was growing up of going to the lake, spending time with aunts, uncles, and cousins. Mom said there would be a big lineup of kids on the beach, as her dad would pull everyone water skiing. And she said they never wore life jackets. Imagine an 8-year-old being pulled behind a boat now with no life jacket. She told me that the only rule that she can remember was to not go by the sinking sand. Decades later, as we had a cabin at Loon Lake, she told me the sinking sand was almost to where the sandbar is now. And where they stayed was closer to the old store by the main beach. She played with friends from Loon Lake and roamed all over the place, swimming and playing with animals. Mom also spoke of being upset with her dad, so Grandpa Harry, as he never let her take home all the stray dogs to the farm. She always took many pets back to their campsite, and then not even that long ago, she would feed the stray Loon Lake dogs at our cabin. Mom definitely made lifelong friends from being a kid at the lake, as she had some old childhood friends stop by at the cabin decades later. Mom had not been able to come to the cabin for a couple years, and I missed having our morning coffee on the deck. Mom came to Lashburn School around grade 8 and had many friends. She spoke very highly of Anne, Cynthia, Cecilia, and Darlene, to mention a few. Mom met Jim when she was 14 years old, and Friday and Saturday nights consisted of dressing up, heading to town, going to a dance, movie, hockey game, or just getting together with friends. Jim and Anne were married October 11th, 1958. They bought the Shire Farm, just a couple fields from where Mom grew up. Michael was born the following April, and as each of us kids grew up and did the math from October to April, Mom would just smile and said he must have wanted to come a little early. Linda came the following year, and Eugene 10 months after. I'm sure those were busy times having 3 kids all in a row, living in a little sugar shack. It must have been a challenge. I was born 6 years later, and the next summer, we all moved into the new house that Dad built. Mom had a dream to foster a child, and she felt I needed a little buddy. So Marlene was adopted in 1979 to complete the Coolidge family. Mom drove back and forth from the hockey rink as everyone played except me and Mom. I would hang out with her while watching hockey or when she was working in the kitchen in the rink. I was called the rink rat, along with other friends, and running around we were good at, until someone would come upstairs in the old arena and tell us to be quiet. Hockey was a big part of Mom's life, and she was Dad's biggest fan. They traveled overseas to Denmark, also to Los Angeles and Victoria with the Maidstone Jets. And of course, the Lashburn Flyers. There was lots of hockey parties at our house, and Mom was the bestest host around. Mom was a figure skater herself, and there are pictures she kept along with the carnival programs from the events of the 50s. Mom told me one day that she was taking me to figure skating. I remember being so thrilled to go to the rink and not to have to watch somebody else. She made me beautiful skating costumes and would watch me practice. Later on, Mom worked in town at Wilford Agencies, and I got to walk to the rink after school. Round about grade 6, I figured figure skating was for the nerds, and I decided to hang out with friends in town instead. Mom found out I was skipping figure skating, and she said I had to finish. Being a mother myself now, I truly appreciate she didn't pressure me into doing something I didn't want to do, but she still made me finish what I started. Same goes for 4-H sewing. I didn't want to learn to sew, but I'm sure glad that she talked me into it. One summer holiday, Auntie Alice and Mom decided that myself, Marlene, Connie, and Ryan should learn to make blue jeans. To be honest, I didn't want to do that either. It was hot out and it was summer holidays. Wanted to go to the lake, but again, I'm happy for those memories of learning to sew. And no, I never did wear those jeans. Mom was the Brown Owl leader for Brownies, along with her good friend, Greta Prafke. I always look forward to Brownie meetings as she put a lot of effort into making it fun. Speaking of Greta and Bunt, of course, there are way too many memories to mention. But Bunt's pontoon boat and all the fun that they had together. There was lots of visiting, dancing, singing all the time. I used to love watching Mom and Greta jive. Mom had great friends, and they definitely knew how to have a great time. Maureen Napper, Greta, Teresa, Martha Warner, Audrey Wagle, and Yvonne Wilson. I'm sure you're all smiling looking down. You want to go for a bit?
Hi. Hello. Can you guys hear me? No? Did I have to hold it? Yeah. Well, for you who don't know me, I am Linda, the number 1 daughter. So, I've wrote a couple of things down here, not quite 10 pages. I've got one line. So anyhow, it's all about quality. We hope. So I got a couple things wrote down. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. My mom. I had 61 years to enjoy with my mother. If I had to describe my mother in one word, it would be selfless. What is selfless? So I Googled it. Concerned more with the needs and wishes of another's than one's own. Why practice selflessness? Being selfless helps us identify and connect with others, and that in and of itself, it's rewarding. It helps us squash our egos because we are not acting out of pride or for a desire to be noticed. It's contagious. We want to be around generous, loving, giving people. These are the people that are ultimately make the world a better place. My mom, the silent generation, but never forgotten. When talking to her, she was busy, always asking about how you were and my life. The silent generation, not so silent, but when probed, the knowledge and wisdom she could share. So some of her problem solving, like when you used to drive and you didn't quite drive the speed that she wanted, that cane would come out. And over it went to the gas, and she'd just speed the truck up. I thought that was a good way of solving it. They also had, on their property, they started noticing some things getting broken. So, as usual, my mom had her own way of problem solving it, so she called these little units over, and she obviously probably bribed them with candy, and said to them, Mom, you know, I've noticed that some of my stuff's getting broken around here, and she said, maybe you could help me with that, because my eyes don't work very good, and she said, I can't get around very good, but she says, if you notice anything, would you watch my property for me? And pretty much after that, nothing got broken anymore. So I thought, well, that's a pretty good way to go about it. My mom touched touched a lot of hearts, always encouraged everyone to follow their dreams, told us we can be or do anything we put our minds to. Does it have? You can hold it. Notice we all need glasses.
I got one page, but I got 10 because I haven't got very good sight. So we'll give her a go here. There. I'm here today to talk about my mom. She did not want a funeral. She just wanted us to celebrate her life with stories and memories. I'm going to share a few of mine. I was lucky to have worked on the farm for years with my mom. She always taught us to work hard, take pride in our work. If you ever worked with Mom, she had a funny place to put things, in her bra. I would say I need to tape measures, staples, pencil, wire cutters, and she would pull it out of her bra. My mom was a fast driver. When she was young, she had 2 gears, first and high, and first was an option. One day, Mom and us kids were going into town at Crawford's Hill. We met the co-op fuel truck at about 60 miles an hour, and dust was flying. We kids were all standing on the seats, and Mom's arm was out for the seat belt. We missed the fuel truck, and Mom said, I hope I didn't give Wally a heart attack, and don't tell your dad. To add to Mom's driving memories was at the main road you went north to the farm. That stretch of road was over a quarter of a mile where you turned into the farm. She told Dad she could reach 70 miles an hour and turn into the yard. One day she had us kids and she was going to prove it, and she did. We had the coolest mom. And,
You could just stay right there if you want. Mom managed Wilford agencies in Lashburn for 2 years. Sometimes I used to go to work with her and get to have a friend to play with in the back. It was great fun, and it was great fun when I got to bring my bike in and ride around town with Shelley. Mom worked a couple of years at McFadden and Son agencies in Waseca. When all of us kids were out of the house, she was asked to work at Wilford agencies in Lloydminster, which she did for 10 years. She grew great friendships with many there, including Grace, Laura, Lynn, Gusty, Elmer, and Barry. Cake decorating was a passion of Mom's, and she did many wedding cakes, and of course, all her kids had the coolest birthday cakes and best parties ever. She taught my daughter Chelsea one summer how to do flowers and other cake icing decorations. My cousin Connie used to come spend summers at our house. One time, Marlene, Connie, and I decided to make candles. Mom wasn't home at the time, and what I do remember is that we used all the pots and pans to melt different colors of wax. And when we were done our creations, we realized the kitchen tabletop was completely covered in wax. Then it became a panic clean of scraping wax off the table. We got all the wax off the table in time before Mom came home. And when she came in, we could tell she was a little miffed because we hadn't made it to cleaning up the pots and pans, but she did tell us how creative our candles were. And we never did tell her about the table. Flower beds were always top-notch. Every summer, fences were painted, lawns were groomed, weeds were picked. A couple times, Dad's pigs got loose, and out into the garden and flowers they would go. I almost felt bad for the pigs when Mom would throw things at them or run after them with the broom. We would sit on 5-gallon pails with another 5-gallon pail full of water and carrots and start peeling for pickling, helping with freezing of veggies and canning, and all that fun stuff. There was always Mom always made it fun with lots of stories and good laughs. Mom loved to host, and when people came over for a visit, a variety of treats were put out to enjoy by all. She was always organized. Everything had to be put back if you took it out. You made your own bed, and you had better help with dishes. I remember her each morning making our lunches. And at school, my friends wanting to trade for what they had for my chocolate chip cookies or my chocolate mint bar. When Mom and Dad went on trips or were going away, she would make different kinds of sandwiches and treats for our lunches and freeze them. So all we had to do was open up the deep freeze and pick what we wanted for lunches. Cousins remember sneaking into the deep freeze, getting homemade baking after a night out. We soon learned to make sure the lids were put on back properly. Mom made sure all of us kids got everything we needed, and we knew we were loved. We had an open door policy for our friends. She would always say if we had our friends in, then she knew where we are. A lot of my friends today still reminisce of the house parties I had. You can ask Tracy sometime about the time Mom was kidnapped by some friends, thrown in the back of Tracy's hatchback, and then taken to a house party without any shoes in the wintertime. One time, me, Tracy, Marlene, and a few more friends hid in the ditch, and we were watching Mom drive by looking for us at Turtle Lake. I think that was the only time Tracy was scared of Mom, when she found us. The good old days without a cell phone. Tracy's grandma, Hall, paid for her to come to Hawaii with us. And years later, Mom told me that apparently she would watch us through her hotel window as we snuck out, walking down the street in plain light. Then she watched or heard us sneak back in. She never did tell Dad. So Dad, hopefully I'm not grounded now that you know. Another time at Turtle Lake, my cousin Connie, Marlene, and I and friends were having a party over at Stoddard's cabin. Keith's parents came unexpectedly, so we decided hey, let's go to our cabin. I'm not sure how many people transferred over to our cabin, but everybody was sleeping already at our cabin, including Mom's friends in their camper. It was a short-lived, loud party that soon was put to an end by Mom in her housecoat on the beach, putting out a glorious bonfire with a bucket of water and nicely asking everyone to leave. I just want to add one more thing about Mom's driving. Marlene and I were being taken to school one morning. We were stopped at the 4 miles corner at the stop sign, and a vehicle was coming, and so Mom was waiting. The vehicle seemed to be slowing down, but taking a long time. Mom hesitated to go, but waited. When the vehicle turned right without signaling, Mom just looked at him, flipped him the bird, and spun off. It was a good laugh all the way to school. I also remember going in the ditch by Crawford's Hill too, Eugene. I'm just going to talk about the pontoon boat. It was pure joy to see the spark in Mom's eyes when she was on that boat. She loved being out on the water, and she loved to reminisce about the time we all went to Steel Narrows for the day. To watch Mom get on the pontoon boat was determination at its best. Asked him about getting Mom up into the pontoon boat on a busy August-long weekend. It's a good story. My daughter Janaea was with them one day when they were launching the pontoon. We were always worried about Mom and Dad doing the pontoon boat by themselves. So they wanted to show how they could do this, and they didn't need help. I'm not sure how this would have ended up if Janaea wasn't there. As Mom sat on the loading dock at Loon Lake, holding a little rope with the pontoon boat attached, Dad backed the boat in and then drove away with the trailer. The pontoon boat became a little heavy, and of course she let go. It was wavy. Janaea jumped in, cell phone and all, and swam and got the boat. As she swam back to the dock, soaking wet with the boat, Mom said, "Good, let's go." The cane. It took a long time for my mom to finally come out of the closet with the cane. At first, she put it in a car trunk. Then it graduated to the back seat. Then became the wheelchair. She wouldn't get a proper wheelchair. It had to be a travel wheelchair. Looks were important. She got the chair when she went on a trip with Courtney on the cruise ship for a dance performance. There are many memories of loading the chair in the trunk or being pushed by a certain someone a little fast over the gravel. She had to hang on. Or that certain someone facing her in the corner and maybe walking away. All in all, the chair did come in handy, and I insisted her to bring it when we went shopping instead of her walker. Sometimes I would pick her up to go shopping, and there she would be, her and Dad waiting in the parking lot at Hemstock with her walker. She finally agreed that the chair was better for browsing. Mom volunteered as a treasurer for the community hall and the Lashburn Museum. A lot more was done than just doing books and paying bills. One summer, there was a wedding in the hall here in June, and then another wedding in July. Mom and Dad came to do something at the hall and noticed ants had made their own roadway from the garbage outside going into the kitchen here in the hall. Apparently, the garbage bin had never been emptied from the past weddings and had been sitting in the hot summer sun, attracting bugs of all sorts. Needless to say, she took care of things like this and just did it. If there was an upcoming event booked at the hall, she would go down, check, make sure everything was top-notch. She had also organized some hall fundraisers all by herself, as she knew the hall had to stay afloat for the community. She washed the floors in the museum, sewed, cleaned, the list goes on. She needed no pat on the back, didn't have to report it to anyone. It was just something she did and wanted to do. Her grandkids were important to her. There were campouts in the living room floor with sleeping bags, great fun baking or having a chili cook-off, or just playing with the cool old toys Mom kept. And of course, Halloween pumpkin carving and even dressing up as the yearly witch. Christmas and birthdays were made special, and she listened to everyone's stories and made everyone feel special. Mom loved music, and it was a great fun when we had our tunes cranked at home, and she would come into the room and do her jive and jig. I loved watching Mom and Dad dance. They were so in sync in their waltz, and their jiving was perfect.
Another memory of my mom would be when we had our bow and arrows. We'd shoot them in the air and take cover under the slide, laugh like hell when they would land right beside us. Mom would look out the kitchen window while she was busy in the kitchen. You kids be careful, someone's going to get hurt. No doubt. Our mom was a special mom to put up with us kids being a handful. By the age of 3, I had already run over my older sister with a car, stabbed my mom's finger with a sewing machine by pushing the foot pedal. Burned holes in Dad's brand new car with a lighter. Remember that one, Dad? Couldn't catch me, could you? I thought my name was "What the hell is wrong with you?" And so did Larry. There was a time Larry and I filled a 5-gallon pail up with gas, dipped cattails in it, started everything on fire. Mom come out of the house yelling my name. It was that day I realized Larry and I both went by the same name. What the hell is wrong with you? Our mom was a second mom to many of our friends. Bobby Kenyon even gave her flowers for Mother's Day one year, and several had extended stays over the years. We did not have phones growing up, just bow and arrows, guns, lawn darts, motorcycles, and imaginations. Sorry, I could tell you a story about each one of them. My mom always had a few words of advice for us. The first was when we were young and you wanted to run away. She would tell us to you go naked. You came into the world naked. If you leave now, you leave naked. The second, and I believe this dearly, is that if you have one good friend in your life, you are lucky. I tell my own kid that now. Her advice and knowledge will be carried through generations. Mom, you are the best mom ever, and I will miss you always. Love you ever.
Well, I was the good one, obviously. I recall, Eugene, that one time being in the yard and Dad was loading grain. And he was hearing all this zing, zing, zing. You remember that? You and Larry shooting inside one of the old bins. Just about shot Dad. I think we had to go to gun safety after that, didn't we? I get a new paragraph. My mom, look at what she accomplished. Not even all the families here. Family first was her priority. I believe that Michael, Eugene, and I paved the way for the rest of you. And by the time Lori and Marlene were driving, our parents had mellowed out quite a bit. When grandchildren, wow, talk about royal treatment. Grandkids are her pride and joy. The rules sure changed. Grandma rules. I know she lived for every moment with you guys. We can all celebrate the life of knowing my mom.
I will always cherish watching the sisterhood of our mom and Alice, Auntie Alice. It seemed 10 years didn't mean anything. They were always there for one another, and this should be a lesson for us all. Mom loved to try new recipes, and back in November, I went to drop off something at their apartment and visit. We got to talking about a particular recipe, and then she asked me, where is all my cookbooks? And I said they were in my storage room. I suggested that I would bring them, and maybe she could give them away at Christmas instead of a Christmas card, and perhaps write a little message or circle a recipe she liked. Then the conversation led to, she wished she would have wrote a cookbook. I said, why don't you? So with bringing all the cookbooks back, she picked out her favorites. She phoned all her kids, asked which favorite recipe they liked, and started to write them down. I think it took about 3 weeks for her to write them all down. And the cookbooks are here today. I really, really suggest that you look up Dad's scrambled eggs. Dad has a recipe in that book, and it's very highly recommended. She asked me if I would type them all out, and I told her, no way. I said, look at your writing, it's so personable. So I took over 100 pages home, scanned them, put them on a memory stick, and I took them to Image Press. It was done a week before Christmas. And when I took the books to her, she was so thrilled and surprised by the pictures I gathered to add to the book. I'm so happy that we have these favorite memories and this book to treasure. My whole life, I spent a lot of time with Mom. As a kid, we baked, we did crafts. I rode in the grain truck. I did whatever she was doing. A lot of the time, there was too much action with the older crew, and it was just plain safer to be with Mom. She was always has been my go-to person. Right up to the last, I enjoyed running little errands or taking her shopping, going to an appointment, or simply just going for a drive. She had a way to make everyone feel special and listen to what you said. I feel bad for COVID hitting at Mom and Dad's golden years, as it slowed visiting down, and I know there were some lonely days. She was Dad's soulmate, and she cared for him deeply. She was a fighter for herself right up to the end of her days. And part of that fight we know was for Dad. She told me how thankful she was for any phone call, visit, or card she got in the mail. And I know her last 7 days that she loved us all being together with her. And I truly believe that she heard how much she was loved by all of us. The hole in my heart aches, and our lives will never be the same. You were my angel when you were here, and we were all so lucky to have you as our guardian angel forever. I miss you now and always.
Thank you, you guys. Mom, would you come up for a few minutes, please?
Well, some of this you already have heard, but I am 10 years younger than my sister Anne, and she was very excited to have a baby sister to play with. Now, I'm really glad about this and the way she felt because I was always tagging along. Even when Jim invited her out, lots of times I got to go on the date too. Now, maybe Mom did that on purpose. Maybe I was the little mini chaperone, I'm not sure, but it was fun. Last spring and summer, I used to take Anne and Jim for Sunday drives. Sometimes I would just say, which way do you do you want me to drive? And we'd pick a direction, and I would drive that. I usually tried to keep them out maybe an hour, well, sometimes it was 2 hours. I had to get them back for their supper at 4:30. Sometimes we'd stop and visit with Bruce and Ruth, or I would take them to my yard and show Anne my flowers, or how far I had progressed with one of my yard projects. Anne commented about how our roles had switched, and I was the one taking them places now. Anne Metherow was a friend of my sister's. Her married name is Anne McCollum, and I'm going to read a letter that she wrote to the family. Dear Jim and family, as you know, Anne and I were friends since we were young girls going to Gully School. Our friendship spanned over 70 years. I remember swimming with her in a dugout on her parents' farm and playing with dolls and playing on the swing downhill from the house. She was always cheerful and ready for adventures. When our family moved into another farm and I to a different school, we saw less of each other for a few years, but picked up our friendship again when we started high school in Lashburn. She liked mathematics. I preferred history, literature, and sciences, so we helped each other with homework. We shared many girlish confidences and good times together as teenagers. We saw less of each other after Anne married and I went to Saskatoon to work. While she and Jim started a family and built up a farm, I married an RCAF pilot and moved often with my husband and my 3 daughters as his career progressed. We lived in Manitoba, Ontario, PEI, California, England, and Alberta, and sometimes we were reassigned to one of these places. My friendship with Anne was one of the most enduring friendships in a life full of moves and brief friendships. Throughout these travels, Anne and I kept in touch. On my rare visitations to Lashburn, we always spent time together. One of these visits occurred in the middle of a very snowy winter, and in order to see her, I had to struggle on foot from the road up the long drifted driveway to the farm. I was lucky that I was wearing long boots and was warmly dressed because it was very cold. We laughed over coffee after I arrived, snow-covered and out of breath. It was amazing, even though, excuse me, there were sometimes years between our meetings, we immediately were at ease with each other. Visits were never long enough. Just before Christmas, we received a Christmas card and a newsy letter from her, telling us of the recent change of address and making sure I had it. I will treasure this letter. I will miss her and share your sense of loss and grief. Sincerely, Anne.
Could we have Courtney and Miles come up, please?
I've been told my whole life I tell stories like Grandma Ann, but I'm not going to apologize for it today. We all know she didn't care anyways, whether you knew what she was saying and if you wanted to listen or not. I'm going to do the same. She also didn't care if you quit listening halfway through or lost track of the story between all the other stories in between. Visiting Grandma, we usually lost track of time, and while most people probably would have lost track of our conversations, no matter how many stories within stories we told each other, we always knew what the end result was. Anyone that knew Grandma knew she was one of the most elegant women to ever grace this earth, always put together and dressed to the best. Even on her bad days, she would never allow herself to look it. She would be absolutely distraught if anyone ever saw her without her makeup and hair done. A few years back, she was in the hospital in Edmonton while I was in university there. She texted instructing me to bring my curling iron and hairspray to the hospital as she needed her hair curled. When I got there, she asked me to get her makeup out of her purse so she could do her eyebrows. When I told her she needed to just focus on healing and not worry about what she looked like, she laughed and instructed me once again to get the makeup out of her purse. She always talked about me being a fashionista and always having my makeup done, but I think we all know where I got it from. I was able to spend a lot of one-on-one time with Grandma during this particular hospital stay, and this is when I realized she was a lot tougher than I thought, and she didn't easily admit defeat. She was ordered to attend a group physio class, and I happened to be there at the time. I wheeled her down and expected to wait outside, but she made the nurses get me a wheelchair and join the class. However, I'm not sure we followed any instructions. We mostly sat in the back corner and pretended to follow the exercise, while really we just gossiped and laughed. Growing up, there was no place like Grandma and Grandpa's house. We were basically allowed to do whatever we wanted there, and if it wasn't allowed, their house in town had the best hiding spots to do it anyways. And if all else failed, we blamed Miles and Evan. That still works, if anyone's wondering. There was never a shortage of snacks and treats either, and I think she got real satisfaction filling us full of treats and sending us back home to our parents. That was very devious now that I think of it. Miles used to spend summers at the farm, and living across the road from Grandma and Grandpa, we used to see a lot of each other, whether we wanted to or not. One summer, Mom and Grandma set up a pool in our yard, and Miles came over for a swim. One thing led to another. I don't really remember what happened after this. I blacked out. Miles thought it would be funny to hold me under the water. A few days after that, I remember coming to and seeing Grandma dragging Miles back home. He was in big trouble. A few days later, an electric fence was up in our yard, and until just yesterday, I was convinced it was up to keep Miles out. Turns out it was for the dog. Between all her volunteering and work on the farm, Grandma rarely missed an activity. Whether it was hockey, soccer, or dance, she made sure she was there to cheer us all on. Her and Grandpa even followed me to Mexico to watch me dance on a cruise ship. I was so excited that they came with us. It was a great trip, until Grandpa lost his wallet in the LAX airport. Anyone who's been there knows it's almost impossible to find something again. Anyways, you can imagine how impressed Grandma was. I believe she said her classic, "Oh, Jim," and rolled her eyes. Luckily, she was in her wheelchair, so we just rolled her away for Grandpa's safety, and my mom took over. The wallet was found, if anyone was wondering, and I think Mom and Grandpa both knew better than to come back to Grandma without it. Grandma was one of the most versatile beings I'll ever know. She really did do it all, and she made sure to do it well. I'm sure everyone in this room learned something from her that they will carry with them for the rest of their lives. She knew how to leave a mark, and she did it well, and she's done it for all of us here today. Grandma, your strength, beauty, gentleness, and passion will be remembered forever, and your power to infuse this into us all will be carried on for generations. You have left a mark on so many lives. Although you were taken from us way too soon, the time we had together will be cherished forever. We love you and know you are one of the most beautiful angels to ever watch over us.
Rochelle and Emma, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Rochelle Coolidge, Anne's oldest granddaughter, and this is her oldest great-granddaughter, Emma Coolidge. Today, I would like to share some of my many stories I have had over the years with Grandma. My brother Renee and I were very lucky to have grown up in the same yard as our grandparents. On weekends, we would wake up, have a quick breakfast at home, then walk or bike to their house. Their door was always open, so we would just walk in. Most of the time, they would be at the table having their coffee and toast, so we would join them and have a second breakfast. I don't know what it was, but Grandma's toast was always better than our house. Renee one day overdid it with the honey while Grandma was getting ready for the day. He might have been eating it out of the container by the spoonful. Grandma came out to the kitchen and noticed he wasn't there. She asked me, "Where did Renee go?" I said, "He went home, he had a stomach ache. He was eating the honey by the spoonful." She said, "Oh no, that's not good." So she called Mom to let her know he was on his way home. And let's just say Renee might have got sick on his walk home and never ate honey by the spoonful again. Grandma always had so many stories, and we loved to listen to them. She told us about the time that they were still sleeping when we showed up one morning, and we scared the crap out of them as we were just standing there watching them sleep and waiting for them to wake up. No matter what Grandma was busy doing, she would stop and take the time to do anything us kids wanted. She taught us how to be creative and adventurous. We would make mud pies, go for walks at the farm and lake, and see what treasures we could find or new places to explore. She even helped us make a fort at the corner of our driveway that we would play in while we waited for the bus. Grandma always made any cake we wanted for our birthdays. Didn't matter what we picked, she made it. She always made every occasion so special and perfect. She loved to host and always outdid herself every time. During harvest season, we would rush off the bus and head over to Grandma's so we could jump in the motorhome or Crown Vic and take supper out to the field. Then we would convince her to let us go for a couple rounds in the combine before we would head back home. All of us grandkids can say Grandma never said no to anything. No wonder we wanted to be there all the time. All the treats we wanted, and let me tell you, that end table was full of them. Was always the first stop at their house. Emma is now going to read her poem that Grandma wrote for her when she was born. She wrote all the great-grandkids' poems and had them all published.
Emma. There's a new wee baby in our family. She is named Emma, a namesake for Grandma. Her beautiful eyes are blue, sparkling, intelligent, and true. Her soft curling hair is fragrant and fair. She has 10 tiny toes to dance wherever she goes. There's seldom a tear, as she has nothing to fear. For she has a loving mother to cuddle and guide her, a father who's kind and gentle, with many a wise story to tell. That's why our Emma girl will always have our world in a whirl. Anne Coolidge.
Grandma, I will cherish all of our special times together. You will never be forgotten. And will be in my heart forever. Love you always.
Could we have Evan, Chelsea, and Janaea come up, please?
Hello, my name's Janaea. This is my younger sister Chelsea and my older brother Evan. We're Lori's kids. We wanted to share some memories of Grandma Ann. Grandma was always known for spoiling us grandchildren, as we've already heard. Her home was our favorite place to go. The door was always open.
As children, we loved going to our grandparents' farm. Oh, I'm already crying. We should have went for it first. You guys really all got me. Sorry. We remember picking crab apples, and she had the most beautiful apple tree. And we would make our own homemade apple pies afterwards. She would give us like mini ones. And we would always want to make ours look as perfect as hers. Oh my God. Sorry.
Mom and Dad always had a full schedule, both working full times. With three kids, all of us had after school activities, and Grandma and Grandpa were always there for an assist. I'll always cherish our trips to Joey's Only after hockey practices in Lloyd, where Grandma would offer praise and maybe a little constructive criticism over some fish and chips and the shrimp.
I'll always remember having sleepovers with Grandma. On the farm, we'd camp out in the living room floor with sleeping bags, Grandma always in the middle. We'd snuggle up and she would tell us stories until we fell asleep. One sleepover, Grandma thought it would be a great idea to have orange floats after supper. She soon regretted it when we were up all night running on sugar and using the washroom frequently. But as always, she was patient and laughed because she just enjoyed our company.
When Grandma moved to town, we were excited as we could walk over there anytime we wanted. We would often take our dog Bandit, who would be just as excited to see her. We had to let go of the leash because he started running too fast when we got close to her house. We often called Grandma Snow White because any and all animals loved her.
Grandma's pantry, freezer, and fridge was always full. She had everyone's favorite drinks and snacks. If you wanted ice cream or pop for breakfast, she was the one to let it slide. She never let us go without dessert after supper. Usually it was vanilla ice cream, and we had multiple toppings. She had multiple toppings for everyone to choose from.
Her candy jar was always full. She always knew when someone snuck a candy because that glass made that distinct clinking sound. Usually it was only Grandpa that got into trouble for sneaking candies. However, over time we learned the trick. You gotta leave the lid off so she doesn't know how many you took. Yeah, you never left her house hungry.
We would spend many afternoons playing cards. We often played the card game Grandma called Bingo, to which she made her own and made her own rules, and it became our favorite game to play. It was fun because I usually won, except when Grandpa and Janaea would catch me cheating with cards up my sleeve.
Grandma was taking Chelsea and I to our to our figure skating pictures one year. Beforehand, I thought it would be a good idea to lock Grandma out of the bathroom and use her red lipstick. First, I did Chelsea's, which turned out really good, and then when I did mine, I went a little overboard and basically made myself look like a clown. Grandma was surprised when I opened the door. She said it took a lot of soap to get it off, but just in time for pictures. At the end of the day, we just wanted to look and be like Grandma.
I always loved when my siblings had hockey games or tournaments because
It meant I got to spend the whole weekend with Grandma and Grandpa alone. Also, one summer, as Mom had already said, when I worked at the museum, I went over to Grandma's every day after work, and she taught me how to decorate cakes. She showed me all of her icing techniques, how to do flowers, designs, everything she knew. I always enjoyed getting to go to Grandma's and bake anything I wanted.
Grandma always had an awesome sense of humor. She always enjoyed getting a laugh. I'll never forget being in the basement on the farm one Halloween when all of a sudden a witch came down the stairs. Now, this isn't the first time this happened either. After about the third Halloween in a row having this witch show up at Grandma's farm, I started to catch on and think it was Grandma because the witch had Grandma's hands. However, she made a plan this time and set up someone else with a costume, but I was ready this year. Dressed as a pirate, I brandished my sword and chased the witch up the stairs and outside into the dark. I'm still not sure who this witch imposter is, but apparently I almost caught them behind the fish pond on the farm.
Grandma Ann was my hero, the strongest woman I ever knew, a fighter. All in all, Grandma Ann saw me, gave me her time, and most importantly, she always made me feel heard and loved. Recently, I asked her if she had any life advice for me for when times get tough. She said, "Just keep going. That's what I had to do. Just keep going. You'll be okay." It is going to be very hard to go on without her, my best friend, but knowing she will be my wings when times get tough is something I find comfort in. I love you always and forever, Grandma Ann.
When we reflected on Grandma's life and the memories we made with her, it was hard not to write a novel. Grandma was truly an amazing woman, and there are so many good things we could say about her. She shaped each one of us into the people we are today, and we wouldn't be who or where we are without her help and guidance.
Thanks, you guys. We're going to take a few minutes and show you guys a slideshow that the family has put together in a few videos.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full, I traveled each and every byway, oh, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, oh, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off cried. I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, not me. I did it my way. Oh, what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the words he truly feels, and not the words I want to live. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way.
I took the supermarket flyers from the windowsill. I threw the day-old tea from the cup. Packed up the photo album Matthew had made, memories of a life that's been loved. Took the get-well-soon cars and stuffed animals. Poured the old ginger beer down the sink. Dad always told me, don't you cry when you're down. But Mum, there's a tear every time that I blink. Oh, I'm in pieces, it's tearing me up. But I know a heart that's broke is a heart that's been loved. So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mom. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go. When God takes you back, He'll say, hallelujah, you're home. I fluffed the pillows, made the bed, stacked the chairs up. Folded your nightgowns neatly in a case. John said he'd drive, then put his hand on my cheek and wiped a tear from the side of my face. And I hope that I see the world as you did, 'cause I know a life with love is a life that's been lived. So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mom. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go. And when God takes you back, He'll say, hallelujah, you're home. Hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mom. You got to see the person I have become. Spread your wings and I know that when God took you back. He said, hallelujah, you're home.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They're like much more than I never knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful
I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. You get your fill to eat, but always keep that hunger. May you never take one single breath for granted. God forbid love ever leave you empty-handed. I hope you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you never fear those mountains in the distance. Never settle for the path of least resistance. Living might mean taking chances, but they're worth taking. Loving might be a mistake, but it's worth making. Don't let some helping heart leave you bitter. When you come close to selling out, reconsider. Give the heavens above more than just a passing glance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance.
It's a real and constant motion.
I hope you dance. Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, dance. I hope you dance. I hope you
Working with Ann at Wilford Agencies was a blast. She was such a hard worker, but we always made time for some fun. There's so many stories to tell, some to share and some to remain between the two of us. I know Ann is listening now and knows which one I am thinking about and saying, "Quit, Laura, before I pee my pants." I used to have a code word or number that I could say over the intercom to alert the gals when a good-looking guy was coming into the office. All the gals except Ann would come running over to see. "Don't worry, Jim." Ann would just peek around the corner to see who I was talking about, smile, and go about her work. Then when the client left, boy, would she tease the crap out of me. I think she just liked to hear me say, "Boy, I would like to see him in a pair of Wranglers." The insurance office was always very busy and stressful at times, as Candace and Grace can attest to. When there would be a nice little break every couple of weeks, I would photocopy a word find puzzle and say, "Okay, gals, playtime." We would have a contest to see who would find the most words in 3 to 5 minutes. You can bet if it was about cooking, food, hockey, or gardening, Ann would win. Ann was a great friend and co-worker. Many conversations were had on the way to and from work. Not once did I ever get upset with her. Over the years, we would run into each other at various functions, and it was like we had never been apart. We could get caught up on everything within a half hour to an hour, while poor Jim just stood there and listened. Jim and family, I wish I could be with you today. Ann was a very special lady, as you all know. I loved her dearly. May your days be filled with all the great memories you have. I know I will cherish mine forever. Until we meet again, Ann, love you. Laura Patterson. Perhaps our loved ones are stars shining through the windows of heaven.
Is Mom taking a picture of us? But you're not smiling. Turn around and smile at her. Show her some of those good smiles you showed me. If we were smart, we'd turn that on and spray her. Huh? But it might break the camera. Oh. I guess we're not joking here. Tell Grandpa if he laughs anymore, we're going to turn it on him. Spray my cups. That's it. Spray the cups. That's the way. That's the way. All of them don't teach you.
Hey, Sonny, you got a smile at Grandpa?
Hey, you shouldn't do that. Are you smiling at Grandpa?
What you eating?
Like that, did ya?
I'm just gonna shake my grandma.
Come here. Come here. What's the matter with you? This one. Yes. Okay, you too, yes, you too. Come here, Axel. Yeah, it's an ear. It's his ear. Yeah, his head. He likes to have his head cut. See, he likes you. Yeah, he likes. Yeah, he's got quite a bum though. Looking at your way, isn't he? There, now, there he is. Oh, he popped him right in the head. Is he gonna get you? It's okay. He's a little stinky. That's all. He's just a bit stinky. You can pet him.
And I just thought I'd tell you how young, dumb, and stupid Jim and I were.
She means me.
60 years ago, we thought we knew everything and were pretty confident. We didn't have much money in our wallets, a bank account with $400 and no jobs. We were renting 2 quarters of land to be seeded in the spring. A shack with no insulation, no electricity, no running water, wood stoves, and green wood, which Jim said I wasn't supposed to tell you. We went out on Halloween and stole it. From who? I don't know, somebody in Maine stole it. Jim had 30 pigs and no farm machinery, so I don't know how we thought we were going to put a crop in, but anyway. October and November, it was good weather-wise, warm and no snow. So Jim was able to pull fence wire out of the tall grass and repair the small pig pen and cattle fence. He and Brian mudded the cracks in the log barn, and he went to an auction and bought a cow and her calf. He was happy he was farming. Then we traded off his 1956 Meteor car for a second-hand grain truck, which was our transportation and income, hauling grain for farmers. My uncle decided to move to Edmonton, where his fiancée was living, and he rented us a quarter. He also sold us his Ford tractor and implements and a self-propelled combine, letting us make payments to him for quite a few years. Mrs. Crawford, a lady down the road, Jim gave her rides to town for the groceries, so she gave us 3 hens and a rooster. We were farming, young, dumb, and stupid. That November, Moose Jaw, Wayburn, and Hannah wanted to hire Jim to play hockey. Moose Jaw offered him a permanent job as a partsman and a house rent-free. He very, very proudly told them, "Nope, I have a farm now." You'll never know if that was a young, dumb, stupid decision. We're all very proud of our kids, in-laws, grandchildren, and great-grandkids. Each one of you is special in your own way, and we love you all. You have given us many memories, mostly good. Alice was her flower girl, and Bruce the ring bearer. As my bridesmaids and I waited with Bruce and Alice in the entry of the church for the wedding march to begin, we could see outside where some of our friends were decorating Jim's car. Soon we were assembled at the church altar with our heads bowed in prayer. As Jim looked down, there was a very excited 4.5-year-old looking up at him and saying, Tim, they're writing on your car. Come on, we have to stop them." Alice was poking him in the ribs saying, "Shh, be quiet, be quiet." Jim and I were both looking down, going, "Shh, doesn't matter, shh, doesn't matter." Finally, the minister gave up, quit praying until we got them calmed down. But of course, Bruce was still pretty befuddled because he couldn't understand why Jim was ignoring his car. Alice and Bruce were spending the night with us when our friends woke us up with a surprise shivaree. Alice remembers all the money she made twirling the hula hoop, and Bruce, I think, got too many sips of beer, and I was worried he was going to be sick. Anyway, 60 years later, now we're old, dumb, and stupid. We always try to treat others as we would wish to be treated. We have 23 descendants, so some of you wouldn't be here without us, I guess. Family is important and life is short, too short for grievances. Families stick together. Thank you, Lori, for your picture display and the nice supper and coming to share the evening with us.
Sorry, I'm not supposed to be the one up here crying right now. My Auntie Anne was an incredible gem. She left us all with many memories that we've just seen and heard. I always loved hearing the stories about her and my mom, and I cannot imagine Grandma Audrey giving the little chills when she saw Auntie Anne with my mom in the bike basket. As a mom now, we do everything to protect our kids, and I'm sure Grandma Audrey was just at her wits' ends. When I was young, I was so very fortunate to get to spend a lot of time at Auntie Anne and Uncle Jim's farm. I have so many memories of being spoiled by her, so it didn't just start at her grandkids. I remember being the one as well to have ice cream for breakfast and all the things my mom wouldn't let me have. So it was pretty exciting getting to go there. I was also so in admiration of her that she could instantly put on a meal for so many people when most of the time she had no idea who was even showing up for supper. At that time, I did not get it at all, but as an adult, I certainly understand how she just magically made it all happen. She did her very best to make sure that everyone was always full and had care packages to go home, and she did everything in her power to make sure that everybody that was there was looked after. I have truly enjoyed reading the stories and looking through the Cooking Up Memories cookbook that Auntie Anne compiled for all of us this past year for Christmas. It was truly a beautiful surprise, and I will cherish all of those recipes. I know she always took it as an amazing compliment when somebody asked her to create something special or if they could have one of her recipes. Anne truly loved her family and all of her friends. She made everybody feel so loved and very special. Her positive outlook was something that I will definitely never forget, and I know it has touched many people in this room. On behalf of all of the family, I'd like to thank you all for coming today and helping to celebrate Anne. I know she would be thrilled to see everybody here gathering, sharing stories, and celebrating her incredible life. She will be missed dearly. So hold on to all your special memories and know that she loved each and every one of you so very much. Anne also loved coffee, tea, and treats. So today we have her famous chocolate chip cookies, some of her favorite chocolates here as well to enjoy. So please all stick around to share some more stories. Take a few minutes to view the pictures and the photo albums. And also, if you haven't had a chance to look yet, please take a few minutes to look at her cookbook and take any pictures that you want to take. So thank you all so much for coming today.
I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
Come to the church in the wildwood. Oh, come to the church in the dale. No spot is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in the vale. There's a church in the valley by the wildwood, no lovelier spot in the dale. No place is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in the vale. Oh, come, 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 come to the church in the wildwood. Oh, come to the church in the dale. No spot is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in the vale. How sweet and a clear Sabbath morning to list to the clear ringing bell. Its tones so sweetly are calling. Oh, come to the church in the vale. Oh, come, 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 come to the church in the wildwood. Oh, come to the church in the dale. No spot is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in